Coming up on the Mississippi Minuteman, Mississippi National Guardsmen train for battle by air, land, and sea at this year's Southern Strike. An exciting sports competition at Camp Shelby for athletes with special needs. And also at Camp Shelby, old memories are discovered through archaeological operations to unearth some of its oldest memories. All these stories and more on the Mississippi Minuteman. Hello, and welcome to the Mississippi Armed Forces Museum for the Fall 2016 edition of the Mississippi Minuteman. I'm Senior Airman Jessica Fielder. To defend our nation, our military members must always be prepared for any situation they may face in battle. A large-scale simulated exercise called Southern Strike gives Mississippi National Guardsmen and other service members valuable, realistic training. Airman First Class Kiara Spann takes us to the Gulfport Combat Readiness Training Center for our lead story.
Close to 2,000 service members from both active and reserve components of the military participate in the two-week joint combat exercise, representing 80 units from 33 states. Colonel Craig Ziamba, Southern Strike Commander for 5 consecutive years, says the purpose of the exercise is to keep our nation's armed forces trained for battle.
Southern Strike's a large-scale war game where Air National Guardsmen and Army Guardsmen from all over America come to train with conventional and special forces. And the way we do that is we build a scenario that replicates the type of combat they'll be involved in downrange.
The CRTC hosts a massive amount of airspace over the Gulf, giving aircraft plenty of maneuverability. And with Camp Shelby an hour away, land is readily available.
And we have the Camp Shelby range, which is 135,000 acres, all owned and operated by the Mississippi Guard. So we have a huge environment where we can practice a variety of conventional and special operations exercises.
Training included maritime special operations, en route casualty care, counterinsurgency, and close air support. Reporting from the 172nd Airlift Wing, I'm Airman First Class Kiara Spann.
Approximately 2,200 U.S. and international service members participated in Southern Strike. While many competitions focus on awards, the Special Olympics celebrates the achievements of children and adults with disabilities. The Mississippi Fall Games drew athletes and volunteers to Camp Shelby. Staff Sergeant Michael Williams takes us to the field.
Special Olympics Mississippi Fall Games are underway at Camp Shelby. Teams all over the state have come to size up the competition.
Special Olympics Mississippi has more than 4,000 athletes around the state, and we have about 4 statewide competitions where the athletes who compete locally and become champions locally, they get to come to the state events and compete with the best of their peers from around the state. And we have fall games here at Camp Shelby where we have flag football, and we have croquet and horseshoes and cheerleading and our equestrian events. So there are several opportunities for athletes from around the state to come and get together and get to know one another on a statewide level.
The fall competitions allows competitors to compete without the fear of losing. As friendly as the competition is, the main focus for all participants is to have fun. Mary Wilms has a 17-year-old son who was diagnosed with autism 9 years ago. His school wouldn't allow him to play sports, but now he is competing in outdoor activities with groups because of Special Olympics Mississippi.
Special Olympics gave him that opportunity to be able to play the sports, run track, and interact and make lifelong friends.
Part of our mission is to help our athletes get the medical care that they need. So here at Camp Shelby, we're doing a program called Healthy Athletes. So you'll see the athletes going in and getting eye screenings, they're getting dental screenings, and these are done by medical professionals.
Special Olympics Mississippi has been coming to Camp Shelby for over 30 years. Reporting for the Joint Force Headquarters Public Affairs, I'm Staff Sergeant Michael Williams.
After the statewide summer and fall games, athletes advance to the national and international levels of competition. Archaeologists here at Camp Shelby are searching the past for relics of World War I. Staff Sergeant Tim Morgan leads us on a hunt to bring the installation's oldest memories to life.
Underneath the buildings and landscapes we see today are remnants of a past that are about to be discovered. In 1917, the U.S. entered World War I. It was then when Camp Shelby was created as a mobilization center to train thousands of soldiers for war. Archaeologists at Camp Shelby are exploring two sites of interest, a bakery that served soldiers of the 38th Infantry Division and a network of trenches that simulated trench warfare. The bakery site has favorable odds for recovery because the engineers of the time sealed it after its use.
What they did is they brought fill dirt and they covered over the World War I materials and they sealed it below a couple of feet of fill dirt.
Rita says there were 60 soldiers here as bakers.
They're very proud of their bread, as you can tell. They're smiling.
And were so important that they were part of the few who slept in barracks instead of tents.
On average, they cooked about 14,000 loaves of bread a day. The bread actually got distributed to the various camps that were spread across Camp Shelby. And at any given time, there was at least about 36,000 troops here.
Recovering artifacts from this site
definitely seeing some anomalies there. It looked pretty interesting.
Would be a noteworthy addition to the story of Camp Shelby. Within a couple of miles from the bakery lie a network of trenches, some of which have been untouched for decades.
Well, in August of 1918 is when Camp Shelby had their very first big war games here.
The 14 trenches were once connected, giving the soldiers a taste of what they would soon be spending much of their time in, fighting the war in Europe. The exploration and recovery of these delicate sites takes weeks.
You can tell those walls were actually cut.
Rita says once the ground radar is complete, the digging and excavation will come next.
We're expecting to find maybe possible remnants of the original bakery or either some of the ovens that they used to bake the bread.
Reporting for the Joint Force Headquarters Public Affairs, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Tim Morgan.
The excavation of the bakery and trenches will continue in the coming months. And who knows, perhaps a new artifact could end up at the Camp Shelby Armed Forces Museum. 15 years after making its debut, the museum reemerges with a completely new look. Second Lieutenant Terry Hill shows us around for the grand opening.
Veterans of Mississippi and their families are honored at the reopening of Camp Shelby's Armed Forces Museum. There is only one place where visitors can see, hear, and touch the stories of Mississippi's veterans.
There are none finer than that in which we will visit today here at Camp Shelby in the great state of Mississippi.
The reopening welcomed numerous special guests from home and afar to experience the history of those Mississippi warfighters.
The Mississippi Armed Forces Museum covers basically how Mississippians have contributed to national defense. So we begin with the War of 1812, which is the first major conflict our territorial militia of Mississippi participated in. And we go all the way through our National Guard deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan.
The new additions of the museum were met with tears from family members of those featured.
Well, having a place to go like this to see the sacrifices that your family members have made, brothers, sisters, mothers, daughters, for this country, it's an overwhelming thing. And having a place like this in Mississippi is just super.
The all-new exhibits will be accompanied by our World War II add-on in December.
Future museums and exhibits and expansions will be necessary for those that serve.
For the Mississippi Minuteman, I'm Second Lieutenant Terry Hill.
The newly renovated World War II exhibit will reopen in December. Coming up, we'll tell you about another long overdue renovation. But first, we reflect on the sacrifices made by our nation's veterans that give us the freedom we have today.
We are the defenders of freedom. We're your neighbors, your friends, your family. We take our oath and obligation to this great nation seriously and stand ready to fight to keep her safe. We salute our veterans who have served this country with honor and distinction. We celebrate and honor their legacy and pay tribute to the great patriots who truly make this country the land of the free and the home of the brave. We will not forget the sacrifices and courage of our retirees and those who were killed in action, missing in action, and prisoners of war. Their commitment and dedication has served to preserve peace both abroad and here at home. The Mississippi National Guard faithfully supports its veterans and thanks them and their families for their sacrifices, unwavering loyalty, and devotion to their country in the name of freedom.
Welcome back. The 1108th Aviation Group is restoring an AH-1 Cobra, a helicopter that played a major role in the Vietnam War. Public Affairs Specialist Danielle Thomas reports from the Gulfport hangar.
Picture putting together a massive jigsaw puzzle where most of the key pieces are missing. That may give you some idea of what the past year has been like for Master Sergeant Cliff Long. As soon as the donated AH-1 Cobra arrived, the mechanic knew restoring it would be a challenge.
And it basically arrived in about 5 different boxes. And we're talking about multi-packs, huge 4x4 boxes.
Even with all those parts, Long fell well short of what he needed to make the Cobra complete enough to be part of a static display at the Combat Readiness Training Center in Gulfport. The 1108th Aviation Group reached out for help across the Department of Defense.
The Cobras have been out of the system since about 1996. This aircraft came mostly stripped down, and every part on it was donated by other DoD agencies and the word of mouth.
The 1108th didn't hesitate to go the extra mile by installing some components that won't be visible to the public, like a working transmission. That's from the Guardsman's desire to recreate memories as authentically as they can.
We're going to go back to a basic paint scheme that the Army paints, which is green. We're going to put all the markings, the original markings back, some shark teeth on the front, because this is an attack helicopter.
Those that served in Vietnam, it's something that they'll see on the side of the road and they have to just stop. They have to walk over there and they have to look at it and they have to tell the loved ones or whoever they're with that this airframe saved my life.
Soldiers say this restoration is dedicated to those veterans who lost their lives in the name of freedom. For the Gulfport CRTC, I'm Danielle Thomas.
The AH-1 Cobra will be among 5 helicopters planned for the display along Washington Avenue at the Gulfport CRTC. That's all for this edition of the Mississippi Minuteman. For more Guard news, visit us on Facebook and Twitter.